this week we've been exploring how our bug and living things depend on one another, and we've discussed a food chain or a food web, which is another way to say a food chain, how bugs are related or have a relationship with plants and animals and even with people in the food chain. Today I'm going to read to you from Bugs in Their Ecosystem, and I'm going to read to you a piece called Dung Alert. By the way, dung is another way to say poop. And it's about how beetles save Australia. It says, too much poop. 2.5 centuries ago, so 250 years ago, there were no cows in Australia. When Europeans went to live there, they took cows with them, and today there are more than 20 million cows. Each cow produces wet, smelly dung, about 12 times a day. Ugh, that's a lot. Dung beetles are generally excellent at cleaning up the dung. But the dung beetles in Australia were used to the dry pellets dropped by Australian animals, such as kangaroos, and they couldn't cope with the wet cow dung. So over hundreds of years, cows ruined huge areas of grassland with their smelly dung. Oh, that's a really big problem. Kangaroo dung is more solid than cow dung. It says the dung beetles in Australia were used to cleaning up the kangaroo's dung, which was harder in solid form. Native Australian dung beetles don't like sloppy dung at all, like the one from cows. When cow dung is not cleaned up, it attracts flies. Cow dung can draw 250 billion flies in a single day. So if you multiply those flies by all of the cow dung dropped, you'll find that 60 billion flies could hatch in one day. 60 billion flies can hatch in one day. Can you see why that could be a giant problem for the environment and for farmers and for the other animals that are trying to feed off of those grasslands? It says about 500,000 acres of grazing land are lost every year because of the cow dung. The larvae of fresh flies can also feed on cow dung. Australia had a lot of cow dung and a lot of flies between 1969 and 1984. 50 different species of dung beetles from Europe and Africa, the kinds that love wet cow dung, were flown in to solve the problem. Wow. They actually brought beetles from Europe and Africa to help them clean up their environment. So bugs are very necessary in our ecosystems. Dung beetles use dung as a home for their eggs, and as food, they roll the dung into balls and take it underground. Doing this disturbed the breeding ground of the buffalo flies. In the end, 26 species of dung beetles did an amazing job of cleaning up the continent of Australia. They are true insect heroes. So, because they are around, they are able to keep grasslands available for animals to feed on and are able to remove the dung that would breed flies that would be roaming and flying around and bothering everybody in Australia. What a creative way to solve a problem. I wonder how your bug helps to solve a problem in our environment and helps to keep a healthy ecosystem. Do you know a way that your animal helps to keep the ecosystem clean?